When I picked up Final Fantasy VII Remake, I was stepping in to somebody else's legend. I hadn't played the original, I didn't know the story beats or the iconic lines or the weight behind names like Aerith or Sephiroth. All I really knew was that Final Fantasy VII had changed gaming for an entire generation and somehow passed me by. I came in from Final Fantasy XV. As flawed as it was, I actually quite loved that game, and its heart, it's the bond between Noctis and his brotherhood. The way it made me care about small moments in such a broken world. But that Final Fantasy was built with modern players in mind, so part of me wondered, would Remake live up to what I'd heard, or would it feel like something made for everybody but me, I guess? Yes, I was aware that every glance, every line probably meant more to long-time fans, but instead of feeling excluded, for the most part I felt invited, and the weight of the past was there, but it didn't quite bury me, it just made me more curious. That probably has something to do with how well regarded the game actually is to the fandom. I didn't know why Sephiroth mattered, but every time he showed up in a dream or a whisper, a flicker in Cloud's mind, I completely leaned in enthralled. The game didn't explain him, not really, and that should have been frustrating, but it wasn't. And look, I'm a villain guy. A hero is only as good as the villain, in my opinion. That's just how I've always felt. But he had the gravity, Sephiroth, and he had the aura. Even without knowing their history, I felt the tension between them. I guess what I want to say is, I didn't grow up with this story, but from the start it made me want to know why so many people never let it go. So I guess having played Final Fantasy Rebirth recently, as little as over a month ago I finished it, I thought now would be a good time to dissect and share a little bit of my experience from both games. It's not going to be a structured review or anything like that. It might be a little bit all over the place at times, but hey, let's embrace the chaos. Consider subscribing, guys, if you like the content and you want to see more in the future, and smash the like if it's not too much trouble. Alright, I guess let's lock in. Grab a beverage. Without the legacy, I met these characters as they were. No expectations, no pressure, and what stood out immediately was Cloud's strife. Cloud's mystery pulled me in from the first scene. He's our lens into this world, but he's also got a question mark wrapped in trauma. It felt like we were walking the same path, both unsure of what was real, both carrying something heavy we couldn't fully name. He's distant, fragmented, and often unreadable, and somehow deeply relatable. Rebirth finally begins to peel back the layers of Cloud, showing us more of his humanity, his doubts, and his quiet need to connect. I'm so pleased that throughout Rebirth, his journey felt so earned. Turning to his foil though, Sephiroth. From his first appearance in Remake, he radiates menace. Every glimpse left me wanting so much more. And Rebirth, it delivers on that, finally placing him in scenes with context, history, and weight. The Nibelheim flashback. Oh, it's edge of your seat stuff, knowing that we still haven't seen his full hand across what will be 3 games in the end. Makes him one of the most compelling villains I've personally ever encountered. A long-form character arc like this is rare for a villain in games, and I'm here for every single minute of it. Other characters that surprised me in the best ways. Aerith, for one. I expected the usual sweet healer trope, but what I got was someone mischievous. Her optimism doesn't feel naive, it feels intentional every time. Like she knows more than she's letting on. There's a softness in her, but It's laced with an undercurrent of sadness, like she's carrying knowledge of a fate she's trying to defy. Her lightness feels less like innocence and more like resistance, like joy is her rebellion. Tifa's combat, well, that's an obvious that absolutely slaps, but it's her emotional intelligence that anchors the group. You see, she listens and she steadies where Cloud closes off. She keeps the heart of the team beating. And as for Barret, I would argue he's the one who caught me off guard the most. In Remake, he's a loud, brash tank with one-liners and raw energy. But even then, you can sense something deeper underneath. And in Rebirth, that depth finally surfaces revisiting his hometown. Seeing the grief that fuels his rage and watching him try to protect not just his daughter but an entire planet. He's a father and a leader, a man shaped by loss and ideology. His parenting and his politics are inseparable, both come from love, from pain and from hope. I didn't expect him to be such an emotional core in Rebirth, but it was a welcomed surprise. And then there's Zack. Oh, Zack, when he appeared at the end of Remake, look, I was very confused. Like, what did I just watch, you know? I felt like I was supposed to know him, but still didn't. Still though, the game had earned enough trust at that point that I wasn't frustrated with it. I was, again, curious. I had no idea what his appearance meant, but all I wanted to do was find out more. So when Rebirth opened with Zack, I was ready for the answers, and the game gave me more questions instead. But it also gave me something else, a story within a story. His presence feels like an echo from another version of this world, another hero's journey overlapping with Cloud's. He's not just a twist to the tale, he's a living thread from a parallel legacy, one I really want to understand. And look, I still don't know where it's going, but at the end of the day I care now, and that's the difference. They weren't legendary figures from the past for me. They didn't carry any baggage, any emotional beats that I was waiting for. They were just people I cared about, one cutscene at a time. Look, I'll admit it, there were moments where I had no idea what was going on. You know, the whisper ghosts, the alternative timelines, people reacting to things like I should already understand. It was overwhelming at times, but also weirdly exciting. The biggest head scratcher is Cloud's identity crisis for me. His connection to Zack and the flashbacks, the shifting timelines, it all left me wondering what's real and what's not. The inclusion of Zack felt like opening a second story midstream. I didn't quite get it, but I also kind of loved that. It was bold, messy and totally different. What kept me going through and through was the emotional weight of the story beats and characters. All the characters are grounded, each one with their own story that felt personal, even if the big picture didn't. Tifa's reckoning with her memories of Nibelheim, Barret's return to his hometown and the pain of old friendships, Sephiroth's fragmented connection to Cloud and maybe Zack? I still don't know. And then there's Aerith, slowly emerging as something more, ancient and heartbreakingly aware. These threads gave me something to hold on to, even if I didn't understand all the lore. I understood what they felt. There was one moment in particular that cut through everything. For me, it was Tifa's memory stream after being swallowed by that creature. Everything slowed and the noise dropped out, and suddenly it was just her, alone with her past. That scene hit me like a truck because it was about pain, about facing what we try to forget. And I think we can all relate to that in some way or another. But with the Whispers and Zack and everything in between, I was confused at times, yeah. But I was never disconnected from the whole story. Even if the lore challenged me at times, maybe it lost me for a moment here and there. The feeling I got playing this game, hearing the music and everything in between, those feelings never left me. Across Remake and Rebirth, I felt the full spectrum of thrill, heartbreak, awe and joy. There's a rare magic in games that can pull you in that deeply, where the spectacle hits as hard as the quiet moments. This journey wasn't perfect, the FOMO from endless side quests sometimes pulled me out of the moment, but it also showed just how much I didn't want to miss a thing. And these characters, they might just be my favourite party in any game, like ever. Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, Barret, they all shine in their own way. And I can't forget Red, Kate Sith, or Yuffie. You're all part of why this world feels so alive and so relatable, so human. But what amazes me the most is there's still one more chapter, one final confrontation. How is this story going to end? You can sound off in the comments below without spoiling anything of the original game, but at this point, I wouldn't be so surprised if the endings diverged and we got a completely new ending than what was in the original game. What's going on with Cloud and this black materia, and will Aerith be speaking to Cloud in the next game from another realm? Sound off below, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Because in this story, nothing is promised, no ending is guaranteed, and somehow, that makes every moment matter that much more. I didn't grow up with Midgar, with this world, but now I don't want to leave it. And that to me is the highest praise I can give.